everyone, this is another of my passive moments videos. Do you know, I was fishing yesterday and I learned the same lesson twice, a very valuable lesson. I use what's called method feeding, and that's where you put your feed onto your feeder and you put it into the water, and because it sinks to the bottom, you rely on your rod tip moving to indicate that there's a fish. Once the tip moves, you get an idea that a fish is feeding on your bait. You may get a violent tug on the rod tip and it will bend a little bit, but it doesn't mean the fish has taken the bait. But then all of a sudden your rod will violently go to the right or the left, whichever way your line is, and you'll know then that the fish has took the bait and it's off, and your reel starts whizzing. And I learnt a very valuable lesson, and what I want to talk about today is waiting on God takes a lot of skill, and it's like an angler fishing. And that was the lesson that I learned, because I was fishing, like I said, and my bait was to the right. Nothing was happening. The rod tip didn't move, no movement whatsoever in the water, the reel didn't move, in fact everything was quiet. So I thought after a few minutes, with the water, the food would have dissolved, so I thought, well, I'll, you know, pull the line in, reel it in and reload. As I started to reel the line in, the rod tip started to bend. There was a fish on the end of the hook. But because he'd picked up my bait, picked up the hook, it was in his mouth, but he was still feeding in the area, but he hadn't moved. That's why I never saw any movement. And the same thing happened at about 10 to 8. When we were due to pack up, I thought I'll make one last cast. So I cast my bait out into the middle of the lake. Now, bearing in mind, the line now is in a straight line, so there's no movement on the rod tip, because the line is going straight out across the lake. And I left it there and I started packing away all my kit. And after I'd packed everything away, all that was left was my rod, my mat and my landing net. So I thought, well, might as well pull in my, you know, reel in my bait. So as I started reeling in, it felt quite heavy. And I thought to myself, well, has my feeder got stuck on the bottom? You know, is it dragging along the bottom somehow? And it felt very heavy, and I thought, what's going on? And so I thought, well, maybe it's dragging, it's caught on something. So then I carried on reeling in a little bit more just to see if it will free itself, and it still seemed heavy. And then I moved my rod to the left, because obviously if it's stuck on something straightforward, you move it left or right may free it. And all of a sudden my rod started to go. And I thought, what's going on? Is it caught? So I pulled the rod to the left quite hard. And next minute the line really started going. There was a big fish on my hook. And I thought, wow. So I had to reel him in. I said to my mate, I said, I've actually got a fish. I had no idea. And you might think, well, what's fishing got to do with waiting on God? Well, it's very simple. You see, in life you have to wait on God, and it takes a lot of skill to wait. And the point I want to make here today is that although you might not see anything happening, doesn't mean God's not doing anything. And even if in life your rod tip just moves a little bit, then nothing happens. In life, you know, maybe you get an idea or get a feeling and then nothing. It doesn't mean that the fish is not fishing, it's not eating your bait, it's not feeding around the area that your bait is in. It doesn't mean that. It just means it's there, but it hasn't taken the hook yet. And it could be the same in life for you. Just because you get an idea or a feeling, then nothing. It doesn't mean what God's got for you has gone away. Maybe the line suddenly gets a bit of a violent tug and the rod tip goes like this, left or right. It means that the fish has grabbed it, realised that there's a hook and spat it back out. And maybe, you know, somebody says, I need to talk to you, or I've been praying about you and there's something I need to speak to you about. well, then you don't see them for ages. Maybe they're on holiday or they've gone away or something's come up and you think, well, what was all that about? It doesn't mean that God's dream, God's vision for you has gone away. But then all of a sudden, the line suddenly goes, woof, and it's gone, and you know there's a fish there. Your reel is whizzing around, and you can hear that the fish has taken the bait, and it's off. Maybe in life, God suddenly dives on you, jumps all over you, and something happens, visions, dreams, and you really know that life has taken off. But sometimes, like I said, things may not happen. Things may be going quietly. You might just get a little nudge. But it doesn't mean that what God's got in store for you has gone away. It doesn't mean that God has forgot. It doesn't mean that God has lost interest. It doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. It's just in times in life, I want to uplift you and encourage you with this. In times in life, you get a little nudge. It's like God saying, something's coming. Are you aware? Are you awake? Then you'll get a bit of a tug on the line and it will just do this. And you think, oh, what was that? And God's saying, are you ready? I'm trying to let you know something's about to happen. But if you're asleep and you miss it, the fish will go away. And if you're asleep, what God's got for you will go to someone else. But if you're alert and you think, yes, I feel that God's trying to say something to me, and you get yourself ready, you may not know what's coming, but you carry on, but you're vigilant, then you'll meet and you'll know what God's got for you. It will suddenly come on you, just like the fish taking the bait. So don't be discouraged when things are not quite happening. Things aren't going that fast. It seems a bit quiet. Be like the angler. Be patient, because you never know. You might just reel in your life and think nothing's happening, and all of a sudden, you've got a fish on the end of your hook. God's plan is on the end of your hook, and it's been happening and you've just not noticed it, and all of a sudden you've got to start reeling it in. Be encouraged. Be like the angler. Be patient. Just wait, and the fish will take the bait, and what God has got for you will suddenly happen. I hope that's encouraged you. Be encouraged and uplifted. It's not always long waiting, but sometimes it does. You have to be patient to catch the fish. Just know that God will never be late, and He'll let you know. But just make sure you're awake, you're waiting for God to do something. Carry on with your life and do whatever you're doing. But know this, God's never late. He'll let you know what He's got for you. He'll never miss a beat. I hope that's uplifted you. If it has, go onto my YouTube channel, IEC Videos, and subscribe or just like. But as always, remember God loves you and has got great plans and purposes for you. Until next time, bye-bye now.